October 30th, we're back at 21 Soho with Ian Brodie talking about life in and out of the Lightning Seeds and John Higgs on the KLF. Tickets below.
Welcome to another Word in Your Ear. Now, the most fascinating part of many band stories is the bit before they have any real success, which makes Pulp a rich seam because it took them 15 years. And Nick Banks was there for 7 of those years after what I think you could call a classic sliding doors moment when he saw a note pinned on a wall by his favourite Sheffield band, which simply said, "Pulp Want Drummer, call Russell or Jarvis." And the peaks and troughs of what happened next are contained in this really excellent book. It's called So It Started There, From Punk to Pulp by Nick Banks. Nick, it's lovely to see you.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. And you must be so pleased. It's been really well received, hasn't it, the book?
Yeah, it has, yeah. You don't really know how these things are going to, go down. You just sort of, I don't know, like in music terms, you do it and just hope that people like it. And then they do, and you think, great, I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. We'll get on to the group later, but there's just so much about growing up in Sheffield and, your experience of all the little tribes and the gangs you joined. And did Sheffield have any kind of identity, musical identity? This is before, obviously, Human League and ABC and all that. What was the identity of Sheffield at the time?
I think really is the fact that you don't know is the sort of the main thing is because we were all, very young, sort of late to the party punk rockers. And, you don't really have any inkling of what's going on. Sheffield didn't, from my knowledge, have many particular punk groups that were at the forefront of the sort of the nascent movement. And certainly Rotherham, where I sort of spent my first 18 years, certainly had even less. And so you're just sort of bumbling along, trying to work out, who is going to, or which tribe is going to claim you. And I suppose punk rock came along very late to the day in sort of Rotherham and Sheffield. For my eyes, we didn't come to our school class until about 1978, which I'm sure for most people was kind of, the actual first wave of punk was well gone. A new wave was certainly much more to the fore. But we didn't know anything about that. We were just, spotty, greasy-haired youths who knew nothing, But you sort of, you got yourself out there, we formed a punk band at school and stuff like that, and you sort of get out into Sheffield because the bright lights of Sheffield seemed so alluring, this sort of, mythical city out there.
For Rotherham.
Rotherham's a bit of a backwater when it comes to, new music movements, really. Or so I thought, but...
Yeah. Describe that, because it's a major conversion. Because before that, you were a kind of ELO, kind of prog Queen type person. And suddenly it's punk rock, mostly about Johnny Rotten, in fact. So what was the impact of... Describe how that impressed you.
When you're growing up, school, being out sort of, 13 or so, you music's starting to, loom on the horizon, and you're sort of seeing kids who sort of had older brothers who had, money for records would sort of, be around, and they'd be sewing badges onto the back of their jackets and scrolling stuff on their school books. And a lot of it would be heavy metal or prog rock or sort of, disco types. They might have been the odd outliers into Roxy Music and Bowie and stuff like that, but they were outliers. They were very few and far between. And of course, you want your music movement to choose you by being something new and exciting. And all the records that people would bring to school, bear in mind, we couldn't play them. They just brought them.
That's right. Had them on your arm. That's right.
And they were like, wow, this punk stuff. And a couple of more advanced kids went to a punk gig in Sheffield by the Skids and came back with such tales of this most incredible moments they had, and the chaos and the excitement and just the adrenaline that was going. Just like where everyone was like, whoa, this is what we need to get into. So a little bit like Harry Potter's sorting hat, it sort of chose us, Yeah, that sort of, I suppose it was the Johnny Rotten sorting leather jacket was placed upon your head. You were like the UK subs.
I was very touched by you got wonderful pictures. I think it's your first band, isn't it? From 1980. The name is just wonderful. Tell everybody the name.
Well, we chose a band. We chose to become a punk band, and after much deliberation and chipping in of others, we settled on the name Fatal Noise. Yes.
So you're about 14 at the time.
Is that Fatal Noise?
Yeah, it's
survive this if you can.
Yeah, exactly. For years, I thought it was a really rubbish name. Oh God, Fatal Noise, what absolute rubbish. But now I think it's a great punk rock name.
It is,
and an utter cliche that you sort of sat around the school desk, and everyone says, right, those buggers across the other side of the classroom, they've formed a punk band, and reportedly they know Accord. So we need to form a
punk band. That's all you need.
We need to form a punk band, this said. And so we made that conceptual leap from just being youths sat around a school table to being youths in a band sat around.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't have any talent, any musical instruments, any knowledge, anything at all.
But you had a name. That's the thing. You were,
eventually,
you were a gang.
Everyone would walk past and go, "What are you calling your band?" And you go, don't know. And eventually, Fatal Noise came out. And let me I'll show you something. Wait a second.
All right.
Oh, some Fatal Noise merchandise. Unsold. Inexplicably.
It might be here somewhere. It might have disappeared. Usually quite with a thought. I've got my cassette somewhere.
Oh, right.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, right.
But you can access it in the book anyway because of the special QR code. But I thought it might have been to hand. I should have done my homework. But,
and you were very moved by Kings of the Wild Frontier by Adam and the Ants, weren't you? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. You look back, from the distance of your mid-50s, and you realise that those sort of early times when music really kind of reaches in and grabs you and does something to your insides is so very important. And I suppose as we advance through our years, that happens less and less. But when you're sort of 14, 15, 16, up to maybe about 20, so many records reach in and do that sort of magical thing inside you. And you sort of realise that this is fantastic stuff. And, the first band I was in, Fatal Noise, fizzled out when people went and got real jobs and weren't at school anymore. But you thought, I want to keep doing this because to be able to make some music that does that to your insides, or to be able to produce a concert where everyone's going mental, would be absolutely fantastic. So I kind of stuck at it,
Sheffield was obviously very experimental. It was a group called Inner Belljar, who I think made their own instruments out of wood or something. Was that right?
Because I sort of almost by default, I ended up being a gig promoter at this pub on West Street, which was sort of in the 80s, had mythical status where all the bands played before they kind of got any talent, really. And it was just a room above a pub. And me and my girlfriend at the time, we ended up sort of sat at the door with an ashtray in front of us where people put the 50p and go in. And our favourite band that we put on was called Inner Belljar. And like you say, they basically manufactured all their own instruments. So, and even their own microphone stands were sticks of wood with a bigger piece of wood stuck on the bottom, and just a very rudimentary wooden clip. And they'd put sort of curtains all around the stage and all this kind of stuff, and bash big cans to make some rudimentary music with sort of very interesting Sheffield-based or interesting lyrics over the top. And we absolutely, and they looked way out as well. They're absolutely,
which is the perfect kind of art rock crucible for Pulp, really. And I think you saw Pulp first saw them in 1982. Now, describe what they looked like, their stage act, and what Jarvis was like.
Well, I think because Jarvis was involved with the Inner Belljar on a sort of peripheral basis, but we'd heard about this band called Pulp, and they were playing at a concert in the Crucible, not the big Crucible where they play the snooker,
not the snooker one.
the little hall next door, you know. So we went along, and I shouldn't have liked Pulp's music in the slightest, because I would have been there, sort of leather trousers, leather jacket, Bundeswehr vest with the eagle on the front and this ridiculous black bird's nest hairdo. And so I went along, and we were absolutely blown away and mesmerized by this sort of fey acoustic music that was going on with this mesmerizing singer at the front, this bespectacled, lanky get with an unruly sort of hairdo, but you couldn't take your eyes from him. It was absolutely electric, and you just wondered about it. But then the music was so light, and there was acoustic guitars, trombones, pianos tinkling away. They had backing singers. I mean, for a sort of a local band, a very local.
Yeah, that's a different league, isn't it?
This was incredible. So, Killing Joke, it was not.
No. Also, it implies a degree of devotion, because you're not getting paid, are you? I mean, this is just people doing it for love, really.
Yeah, exactly. And also, as well as having backing singers, they would have string all over the stage. And it sounds rubbish, but it looked amazing. With orange fish sellotaped to the string. So it was all over the stage like this. I think they were trying to go for Pulp Under the Sea.
Right.
Perhaps, in a homemade style. So, and to do all that kind of stuff was absolutely amazing. And, I had bumped into Jarvis a few months before, because we'd been putting the bands on. And these two lads would come up the stairs to go to the gig, ostensibly. And they'd just sit at the top of the stairs. And we were sort of, are you two putting your 50 pence in and going to see these? And they'd sit at the top of the stairs and go, Can we just sit here and listen? And we're like, do what you like. So they'd sit at the top step and have a roll up. One of those lads was a lanky, bespectacled streak of piss called Jarvis Cocker. And that's how I sort of knew him a bit, yeah. So, on we went, and eventually we saw the piece of paper on the wall. And
to describe the audition. I mean, you looked like it was a bit of an open door. You got in very easily.
Well, you'd like to think so, but maybe it wasn't as cut and dried as that. Yeah, saw the piece of paper on the wall, and literally, Pulp had sort of become my favourite band, certainly my favourite local band. And so I saw the piece of paper stuck to the wall and thought, that is the job for me. I've been playing in loads of local bands, and I was okay. So I thought, oh my God, this is my chance. This is the job for me. I must get into this. So two things I didn't do was, I'm pretty certain I didn't write them. I have no recollection of writing the number down. And worse still, I should have taken the piece of paper off the wall so nobody else got a chance to audition.
Absolutely.
Did neither of those things. And even so you go away from that, your heart's beating fast, and you think, oh my God, this is the job for me. But then I don't think I even rang the number up that day. You'd think you'd go home straight away, get the phone box. But maybe it was raining. Maybe I didn't have 10p for the phone box, all that kind of stuff. So I'd never rang the number. But I did go out that night, and I went to the Leadner, where the actual piece of paper was. And I knew Jarvis to say hello to, so I saw Jarvis and said, can I have a go? And he went, yeah, all right, we can have a go. So he said, right, come and meet us up at our house on Sunday afternoon. Righto. So I turned up for the audition. And so I walks up the drive with my little snare drum in its case, knocks on the door. But just as my hand's just about to knock on the door, there's this almighty commotion inside, these dogs barking, going absolutely crazy. But I think, oh, well, I'm here now. So knock on the door. Door opens a crack. Oh, it's you. Pulls me inside. And this little white bulldog running around the kitchen, going crazy. Another dog through the other door to the rest of the house, equally going crazy. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Jarvis says, this little white dog has followed me home, can't get rid of it. We need to sort this out now. This, to be honest, guys, this should have been a red flag moment. This is not normal. Turn, leave, forget it. But so then you think, well, this is fine.
These are not conventional people.
No, we can handle this. So what's the plan, Jarvis? Because, right, what we'll do is we'll walk around the streets. When the dog stops for a sniff, we'll leg it round the corner and the dog will go the other way. Brilliant. What a plan. Fantastic. So we set off round the neighbourhood, which is quite a tough, roughy-tufty neighbourhood, you know. And so the dog would stop for a sniff and we would leg it round the corner. Now, neither of us are Olympic athletes, even though we're quite young. Leg it round the corner. The dog comes after us thinking, this is a great game. Oh, this is such fun. So we walked around for about an hour. We didn't get rid of the dog. Or it didn't leave us, let's say. So we thought, well, we've got to get rid of it. So eventually we picked the dog up, put it behind someone's garden fence, and then legged it round the corner. Just to, as you look back, just seeing this little white dog's head through the gate.
Weeping eyes.
Yeah, so we finally got rid of the white dog. Gets back to the house about thinking, right, well, we're going to be able to play some music. It's going to be great. This is going to be, can't fail. Jarvis looks at his watch and goes, I think my grandma's got me tea on now. We haven't got any time left to play any music. So he's like, this should have been red flag number 2.
Yeah.
This is not conventional. This is not right. So I think we must have made an arrangement to meet a week after. So I did go and play some music eventually. And there was never any sort of, oh, you are now in the band. There was never any sort of communication of such gravity. It was more a case of, okay, well, I think we're having a rehearsal on Thursday. Come along if you want. So I said to Jarvis a couple of months ago, I said, you know, when I joined and had that audition, where have we gone? Oh, missed you, sorry. I said, I had that audition. He's going, yes. I said, was there any other candidates? He looked wistfully out the window and sort of went, no.
You were there.
Oh, default was the main.
So what was the spirit of the group?
That's what they always say, isn't it? 80% of success is turning up.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
It is a huge amount of that. Can you just tell me? I'd be interested because there aren't many drummers who've written books. And you've been in and around that group for a long time. What do you think, apart from music, you brought to it? Or, what's the... I mean, finding a drummer, hanging on to a drummer is clearly, it's a major thing with most groups, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, they can be, mercurial sort of characters sometimes. But I like to think one of my main traits is perhaps loyalty. And if a drummer joins his favourite band, you can't really get much better than that in a way, can you? So I joined, made sure the drumming seat was mine. And I think when you sort of in a band trying to get somewhere, especially when you've had a sort of a seismic moment where half of the band has left, you're looking back for stability again. So bringing in that sort of stability, and imagine it's like, I suppose, building a wall. Each segment is like a block in the wall, and as long as it's nice and solid, you can stick other stuff on top of it, and it's all going to stick, and it's going to go along fine. So that kind of thing, and I'd like to think that after I joined, Pulp's music improved. So let's not beat around the bush. Success.
So what was the spirit of the group like? Because they've been going for 7 years and got kind of nowhere at that point, hadn't they?
Very much.
So why did you think that there was a potential in it? Why did you think that this was a future?
I was a fan of Pulp's music, which was sort of the Freaks area and the It area before that. And I loved the music. I just thought it was so full of melody and drama, coupled with, a frontman that I'd not seen the likes of without being someone in the national consciousness. And so you just thought, this is going to be my certainly best shot at getting somewhere. Unfortunately, it took yet another 7 years after that to get somewhere. But in the sort of between the demise of the Pulp sort of Freaks era and this new Pulp that forged, there was a bunch of songs that had been written, Jarvis had fallen out of a window and broken half his body and all this kind of stuff. And he'd been given this very rudimentary Yamaha keyboard to while away the hours as he was recuperating. And he wrote a bunch of songs that were fantastic, but a much different sort of direction. Unbeknownst to me, that direction was Barry White meets the Pet Shop Boys. Now, this is another kind of red flag. In other words, I never knew of this option, and I perhaps had never signed up for it. However, once you was putting your input into the songs, you knew that they were really, really good. Another extension, another version of Pulp, but it was equally as good as what you'd heard before, and it was pointing in a new direction that certainly was perhaps more pop based and perhaps could have had a wider appeal than perhaps some of the more morose, downbeat freak stuff. And it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah,
eventually.
Right. Did you find when you were working on stuff? I always think with drummers and rhythm sections that the key thing you can always do with songs is make them a bit quicker.
Oh yes, my forte.
Go on, no, seriously.
Yeah.
That must happen a lot of time. People turn up with a song and they always want to do it slowly, don't they?
Well,
go on.
And yeah, that's what I think. Drummers can bring to someone brings the acoustic guitar and goes, I've got a few of these chords, and you might think, okay, the melody's quite nice, but it's a bit boring, So going back to the punk rock ethic of sort of the late 70s, it's like, okay, that's good, but let's inject a bit of passion here, and really pile in there and get going on it and bump the tempo up, make it a bit more exciting. And I think a lot of the time that's what you can do. Yeah, you just sort of say, let's go for this one.
There's the permanent tension. It always seems to be within a band between the person who's written the song or also wants it to be slower.
Yes, yeah, a lot
generally.
Yeah, and but maybe they're thinking, well, I've got to be able to fit all these lyrics into these chord changes.
Yes,
and no one slow
it down, but I can get crowbar a few more in there.
Yeah, exactly. But you're thinking, we want to get excitement going, make it exciting. And I think injecting a bit of tempo makes things that bit more exciting. So
you have a great theory. Your uncle, very impressively, is the great Gordon Banks, and you had a theory that you that which you tried out on him, that goalkeepers and drummers have a lot in common. Explain that.
Yeah, very much so. Because I always thought, and I did expound this to Gordon, and he was very much in agreement that obviously we're both generally at the back, let's say.
Yes, you can see, you get a different view of things.
Yeah, both at the back, you are seeing
safe pair of hands,
everything unfold in front of you, but you're kind of stuck to your position. You're not like you belt out round the front, and obviously the drummers and goalkeepers are seen as maybe a little bit strange, sometimes a bit out there. And you're doing a unique job within the organisation, within the team. And so there's a little bit removed from the other guys around you. And also, which I enjoyed explaining to Gordon, was that if the drummer or the goalkeeper cocks it up, everybody knows about it.
That's true. I'm so exposed.
Because you're so exposed, if the goalie drops the cross in the his feet and he pops it in, he's like, oh God, And similarly, drummers, you're exposed, because you're right up there driving the song. If you stop and everyone keeps going when it's not supposed to stop, then everyone's looking round at you and sort of the raised eyebrows of disdain are happening.
It's also, I always feel the drummer is the most difficult person to replace. And they never do replace them, it seems to me.
Well, I think you can, similarly with goalkeepers, if you've got a decent drummer in the band who's doing the job, they are difficult to replace because the confidence, I think, that you can provide can spread throughout the organisation in front of you. You might have the greatest team on God's earth. But if your goalie's a bit rubbish,
the whole team suffers.
It's gonna kind of fall apart, and it's that is going to sort of infect the team. And similarly with the drummer, I think the rest of the band have got to feel that they know that this person behind them is going to really drive the stuff along, and they know that it's not going to fall off his drum stool halfway through the song and collapse in a heap, or kick his drums down the stage and storm off in a huff, which is suboptimal. They know that they can rely on that person behind them to keep it rock solid.
Do you think, in terms of the book, do you think there was a virtue in the fact that lots of things happened for Pulp quite late on, and so is it go on to?
Well, it was, if you set out a plan for a band, you would not have them. You would not join them, and then you have 7 years of nothing but angst. The idea of joining a band is you join a band, write a bunch of songs with your mates, go out and play some fantastic concerts, and then it's limousines and dancing girls for the rest of time. That's the plan. Unfortunately for Pulp, it didn't really work out that way. You join your favourite band, and then nothing happens for years and years, and it's difficult, But we stuck to it with sheer bloody-mindedness, and hoped that the spotlight of interest would move into our direction,
I thought there's another really poignant moment when common people, brilliant description of you realising you're onto something special there, and everybody in the studio just standing around and just watching this thing emerge. But Common People's #2 record, and you say that you're simultaneously thrilled to have a #2 record and simultaneously gutted that it's not a #1 record.
Yeah,
I thought that just summed up what it must be like. Pop music is, you're never satisfied, are you?
No, because getting to the heights of let's say the top.
I don't mean you personally. I mean people generally, pop musicians generally. You never.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I suppose a human nature. Always you always want something that's just slightly out of reach. So just even if Pulp got into the sort of top 10, once we've been on top of the pops, you think, we can call ourselves pop stars now. And then you always want to get that little bit higher up the charts and all that kind of stuff, sort of the competitive nature of listings, I guess. And so, you're there at miming on a wet back of a lorry in Birmingham, thinking, you're similarly elated that you're at #2 in the charts. This is incredible. It's taken so long to get here. We've gone through such traumas. We're at #2. So why is Robson and Jerome still at bloody #1?
It was Robson.
How was that who it was?
That hurts.
Of all the people to lose
that
out.
hurts.
So that it kind of sums up the yin and yang of Pulp's existence. That great euphoria with a tang of disappointment.
There was a picture of a Pulp at you toured. You finished a tour quite recently, didn't you? Mm. And there was a picture on social media. I was very taken with I think probably last night the tour, the whole lineup of the Pulp kind of touring party. And there's a lot of people, isn't it?
Tell me about it. Yeah. It was a hell of a lot of people.
I mean, how many people is it? And I mean, Pulp are a successful group, but they're not the Rolling Stones. But it's just you grow a lot of people, don't you?
Yeah, 60 odd or something like that.
Is that what it was?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of stuff being put in boxes and things clipped together to put on a huge visual and musical extravaganza.
Because it's like a big West End show nowadays, isn't it?
They are. I mean, people complain about ticket prices, and you can possibly rightly say that the sort of inflation of ticket prices maybe has got a bit out of hand. But at the same time,
but you can see what they've got to sponsor.
That's bloody way so much, because you've got all these people, video screens and people making the visuals and the music all linked together. It's not one bloke pressing a button, at the start.
Yeah, and so many of the people in that picture would be travelling with the band too, wouldn't they? So there's hotel rooms and transport and all that.
It all adds up, and and I think people have certainly become used to going to, if they're paying their 80 quid a ticket, they want to be dazzled by the music, the sound quality, the visuals, to make it an all-encompassing, joyous occasion.
Yeah.
I think we certainly successful in doing that. And yeah, it doesn't come cheap. That's the thing.
Right.
When you first got the success, you kind of felt that the rest of the group suddenly became kind of second division, and that it was all about Jarvis, and Jarvis was doing all the interviews. But you kind of accepted that, didn't you? Because I mean, he was just such a good promoter. He'd be on, quiz programs, and then there's the amazing description of the Brit Awards moment, the Michael Jackson moment.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, because you gave the impression it was very good for the band, but possibly not so good for him. It was actually made life very difficult for him.
I think very much so. I mean, we always knew that, we'd got this incredible front person in the band, and part of the way of you sticking around for so long was that we need the band to get exposure, and having this amazing frontman is going to be one of the best ways of doing it, and give people the chance to see Pulp and get exposure. And gradually we got there. Unfortunately, with the Brit Awards, is it kind of got a bit too much exposure in a way, and we'll all have to blame Candida Doyle really for it, rather than Jarvis, because let's be true. We'd seen Michael Jackson doing his sound check, etc., and his run through, and we were just like, "What is this rubbish? What is this overblown, ridiculous save the world and raggedy children through the power of it and all this kind of stuff?" So it comes the actual evening. We've done our bit, and we're sat at this table, very close to the bit where you walk onto the stage. And Candida Doyle was there egging Jarvis on. A little bit of Brit's red wine may have been consumed, let's admit it. And so she was egging him on, sort of saying, "You'll never do anything, you just all talk, blah, blah, blah." And next minute, he's up and he's across the gangplank onto the stage, running around and all that. And we were basically stood on chairs, whooping and hollering. It was just such a fantastic moment. Obviously, comes back a little bit out of breath. It's still no Olympic athlete. And so everyone's slapping his back, saying, "Oh, that was marvelous!" Pricking the bubble of this preposterous thing that's going off. But then, of course, we retreat to the dressing rooms, a little bit more red wine, and then you get the message that mixed lot aren't very happy. They're not happy bunnies up there. And then, of course, the SH1T does hit the fan. You've got the police coming in, all this. Bob Mortimer offering his legal
services.
But let's face it, he'd had quite a bit of red wine, so I'm not sure his legal brain would have been as sharp as perhaps you would have wanted in this moment. But I think the fallout from it, obviously all the tabloid press and all this kind of thing, I think that, it was great for the band. It really propelled the band into the national consciousness. But then, it affected Jarvis maybe in the way that he was going from the observer to being the observee. And I don't think that really sat very well with him. You've wanted to be sort of a pop star for a lot of your adult life, and all of a sudden you are.
You are, yes.
Oh, yeah, it's not quite as gilded beauty palace as I was expecting. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. You go for a bottle of milk, and you've got people, wanting an autograph, photographs, and hanging on you every word all that time. And you just kind of want to get a pint of milk and go back and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I think it did change things somewhat.
And I suppose that's the beauty of being the drummer, isn't it?
Exactly. You can go to the parties and wander out and no one gives a fig.
Nobody, you can go to Waitrose and be undisturbed.
Pretty much so, yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to a question now, Mark asked at the beginning, it's been very well received. Were you giving it to fellow band members to read while you were working on it? Or?
Good God, no. Oh, no. Because I want Jarvis to write a little sort of sentence as the promo push. So I sent him a few chapters, But the rest of the band, I was kind of waiting till it was all done and ready, and then they got a finished copy. But I think I didn't want to do that because basically it's my memories.
But this is it. That's what I was going to say.
And if you're doling out chapters, what do you think to that? And they'll go, that never happened like that.
Absolutely.
And kind of going, but in my mind, that's how it happened. So,
yeah, well, you write your book. You tell your version.
Well, Mark and I think we were only talking about this the other day. Paul McCartney famously said there are a million stories about the Beatles, and they're all true. And it's kind of true, because all people will remember or will have created in their memory will be what they saw, what they
they're probably right, and you may not remember
right.
it.
You may not. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, Richard Hawley just lives up the road from me, and we often meet up for a cerveza or two, and it's always like, oh, you remember that time, so and so, and we did this, and now I'm kind of going, no, not a Scooby-Doo whatsoever. I mean, you must remember, it was amazing. I said, no, but do you remember this time when we went there and that thing happened? They'd be like, no.
Oh, absolutely.
And, how the mind works, whether it's, something that just kind of calls to you and you lay down some rock-solid memories, I don't know. But I think that's the reason why you look back at all these things that happened with Pulp and you sort of think, did that really happen? Was that, it seemed like a strange fever dream that you did all these crazy things and daft stuff. And so before you lose your marbles, maybe the best thing to do is to write it all down.
And you have done.
Yes.
And there it is.
And it's very good.
It's very good. It's out there now. So it's started there from Punk to Pulp by Nick Banks. Nick, thanks for talking. Thanks very much.
And also, chaps, just to finish off, you've spotted the world's first unique feature ensconced therein with the book, because obviously each chapter begins with a QR code, which you can access by your smart device.
Yeah.
And you can go to additional content and playlists that kind of should be relevant to each chapter.
Bonus tracks.
All that kind of stuff. And I think that's a world's first in a rock biography. You tell them different.